Saram, Sai Satcharithra, Chapter 2, Paragraph 5. So we start this paragraph where first I will read the paragraph and then we will dive deep into the meanings and hidden jewels of Shri Sai Satcharithra. The stories in it, rather. I could hear it what is that the author is saying. Shri Govind Raghunath Dhabodkar saying this, who's also been addressed henceforth as Shri Hemadripanth. Now he is saying that I could not myself ask Sai Baba to give me permission for this work. So I requested Shri Madhavrao Deshpande alias Shama, Baba's most intimate devotee, to speak to him for me. He pleaded my cause and said to Baba, "This Anna Sahib wishes to write your biography. Don't say that you are a poor fakir, and there is no necessity to write it. But if you agree and help him, he will, or rather your grace will accomplish the work. Without your consent and blessings, nothing can be done successfully." We'll stop at this. So, here, as it was discussed and mentioned earlier also, what we need to first understand is the humbleness and humility and the respect that he carries, Sri Govind Raghunath Dabodkar carries for Baba. It is not that he fears Baba, it is not that he is scared of Baba, it's not that he cannot approach Baba himself. That humility and that
Dhruv, you are
humbleness.
mute. Yeah, you are in mute.
So, this humility and humbleness of Sri Govind Raghunath Dabodkar, which it starts with. Sri Dabodkar does not approach Baba directly, he goes through Shama. Shama has been a very intimate devotee of Baba. He is a very native, rustic villager of Shirdi. He's been with Baba, been one of the staunchest believers of Sri Sainath Maharaj ever since Baba's advent in Shirdi. So, the humbleness of Sri Dabodkar is a takeaway here, where he says that I cannot ask him. Why don't you ask Baba? Now, for a moment, we have to step into the characteristics of Sri Shama as well as Sri Dabodkar. What would be the emotion of Sri Dabodkar? It is not fear. What he sees, the divine dignity in Baba, where he feels extremely subdued and he starts feeling that, how can I reach out to him? And look at the humility and humbleness. How can I ask him to permit me to write his biography? So he goes through Shama. And coming to Shama, let's become Shama. Shama, being a native, rustic Shirdikar, he understands and respects Anna Sahib, not Sri Dabodkar, and he addresses him as Anna Sahib. Anna Sahib means an elder brother in Marathi. So, the amount of respect and regards which he has for Sri Dabodkar, not that he knows Sri Dabodkar for a long time, not that he's been an intimate friend of Sri Dabodkar, but the intent of Dabodkar, humbleness of Dabodkar, humility of Dabodkar, And Dhabolkar, having respected and recognized the Shama's intimacy with Baba, his relationship and proximity with Baba, and despite Shama being a native, rustic villager of Shirdi, see the humbleness of Sri Dhabolkar, where he doesn't say anything. He had no arrogance. He humbly goes to Shama and he says, he treats Shama as an equal. They were not equals in terms of worldly eyes, whether you call it as financial equality or stature in terms of his position or whatever we call it. But they were, in the eyes of the world, they were not equals. But in the eyes of Lord, there are no first amongst equals. We are all the same. So that virtue of Sri Dhabolkar is identified by Shama. So that is why he addresses him as this Anna Sahib, calls him Sahib. See the maturity of Shama, being a native rustic Shirdikar that he was. Spiritual maturity. And all these things has happened within Shama just being in the presence of his Guru. This transformation of Shama is nothing that he has practiced. He hasn't practiced any yoga or yoga sadhana or anything. Just being in the presence of Guru, how much Shama has evolved. So this is what happens when we are in close proximity with Guru. He could understand Sri Dhabolkar's humility and humbleness, and he respects that. So here it is all about humility and humbleness. No matter what you are, no matter who you are, when your efforts and your bhakti is Guru-centric, not self-centric. So though even our journey is within, from within to the Supreme, despite that, even within us, it is Guru-centric. So long as our journey is Lord or Guru-centric, not worldly displaying and trying to show off and things like that, how evolved we are. Humbleness and humility, both Shama and Sri Dhabolkar, coming from two different worlds altogether, carried the same humbleness and same humility. Sri Dhabolkar recognizes the spiritual advancement of Shama. Shama recognizes the humbleness and humility of Sri Dhabolkar. So they respect each other. Hence, Shama makes this attempt or the move to reach out to the master. And he says, he pleaded my cause and said to Sai Baba, he pleaded. Humility, again, humbleness. And he also is so matured spiritually, so advanced, that he preempts the Divine Master's communication in this one statement. This Anna Sahib wishes to write your biography. This Anna Sahib addressing Sri Dhabolkar. Shama is saying this. Your biography. Don't say that you are a poor fakir and there is no necessity to write it. He preempts. He knows what his master will react, how his master will react, and what his master is going to say. So he preempts. He understands his Guru. Again, here, another virtue of the master. There is one generic statement which we we speak about as Yatha Raja Tata Praja, like how the king is, likewise the people of his kingdom are. Like Yatha Guru Tata Shishya for us as yogis. How our master lived, likewise we have to live. And if we are true Shirdi Sainath Bhakts, devotees and disciples, if we are worth our statement, humbleness, humility, two things. Because Maharaj himself, Sri Sainath Maharaj himself, never called himself a god. He always said that see me, see all gods and goddesses in me, and see me in all gods and goddesses. But he never called himself God. He said, "I am a servant of Allah. I am a servant of God. I am not God." Sri Sri Sainath Maharaj's virtue, how beautifully gets imparted to his disciples without officially, verbally saying it or training them. His life, the way he lived his life, that in itself is a lesson for us. He never called himself a Sadashiva or, I am this Guru, I am this Guru Samrat, I am this Sadguru, Mahaguru, Gurudevs, and this and that. Nothing. He said, I am a servant of Allah. I am a servant of God. There are many ways. There is one way from here also. You can suit yourself. That humbleness is in Shama. That same humbleness is imparted to Sri Dhabolkar. Humbleness and humility. So that is something knowing. And second thing is how beautifully Shama is preempting what his master is going to say. That means understanding your Guru is the real bhakti. Excuse me. Replicating your Guru's characteristics in yourself is true evolution. Humbleness and humility of Lord Sri Sainath Maharaj was there in Shama. He could have been arrogant, saying that I have been his disciple and devotee for these many years or decades. But no. The newcomer Sri Dhabolkar requests with humbleness, he communicates with humbleness, and he preempts his master's humbleness and humility, understands. That understanding is is called as bhakti, not the rituals. Rituals is one of the expressions of bhakti. आप आरती करो, पूजा करो, धूप करो, प्रसाद चढ़ाओ. Oh, this is one of the expressions of bhakti, but that is not the bhakti. Bhakti is to understand your Guru or your God and his ways. Now it continues. Don't say that you are a poor fakir and there is no necessity to write it. Now again he says, he understands. Don't say that you are a poor fakir. He understands who his Guru is. He understands who his God is. The universal master, the Guru Samrat himself. His possessions are दो जोड़ा कफनी, एक झोला, two pairs of his robes, one jhola, a bowl, a tumbler, and a plate. Barefoot, living in dilapidated mosque in Shri. For to keep himself warm at night, he lit a fire which is dhuni, which is eternally burning. This is all is the Supreme Master's possessions. So he says, we know who you are. As we go forward in one of the chapters, there is one saint whose name is Gangagir Bua, who comes to Shirdi sometime and he sees Baba from a distance. He says that, don't underestimate this man's humbleness and humility. ये कचरे में पड़ा हुआ हीरा है. He is the world's best diamond in spiritual arena, and he is lying in that garbage. Garbage is the amongst the people who don't really understand his value and what he is worth. That is the garbage. We were the garbage. So he says that amongst in this garbage, the most expensive diamond is lying there. Do not underestimate. So that's what he says. As we go forward, we will see. So this is so far, and then he says, but again, he says, but if you agree and help him, he will write, or rather, your grace will accomplish the work. What it means? He identifies that whether it is Sri Dhagodkar or me or anybody, we are all just your instruments. We are not the doers. It's only you who's a doer. We are not the doers. So he says that we are not going to do anything, just your grace, not even you, not even your thought, just your grace, just your blessings. That is enough. If you bless him with your grace, or if your grace is there on him, this work will get accomplished on its own. On its own. The meaning is, once the divine decides or blesses or creates a reality, a new reality, or alters a reality, the universe responds and makes sure that things happen on their own without any efforts. We all, as Baba's devotees in our lives, have experienced these kind of effortless attaining of things, including, I would say, that Shunya Kriya that we are bestowed upon by Sri Sainath Maharaj himself. I must, nobody will deny, all the yogis and yoginis sitting here will surely agree that it came to us without effort, without much effort. Baba just said that this Kriya, the Shunya Kriya that you all are following, is what I have given it to you. And it is descending us. The experiences are so beautifully felt by us without any efforts. So that's what he says. And he means. And Baba replies, going forward. And further Shama says, without your consent and blessings, nothing can be done successfully. Now again, it was mentioned even in chapter 1. Very clear, don't take your guru for granted. Never do that mistake. Especially if you think that you are doing your God's work or your guru's work, do not take it for granted. Please don't do that. If you remember in chapter 1, those 4 ladies who were instruments of Sri Sainath Maharaj, who pulled the grinding mill and the whole wheat was ground, and then they make 4 portion of it, and thinking that Baba doesn't have anybody or he doesn't cook, so we will take it home, he is very kind. No. Same thing he is saying. Shama is so matured spiritually. He says, without your consent and blessing, nothing can be done. We won't take this for granted. We won't take you for granted. When you give us the consent only, then it will happen. Otherwise, it won't even happen. That is the level of spiritual maturity Sri Shama, Sri Madhavrao Deshpande is displaying here. It is not easy. This is true evolution of a human being. Don't take your guru for granted. Particularly when you think that you're doing his job and when you're serving his cause, and if you think that you are doing it as a doer, first mistake being there. He again speaks about what is written in Bhagavad Gita on several occasions. Lord Krishna has said to Arjuna on several occasions about instrumental devotion. 5 levels of devotion which has been explained, but I'll run it through very quickly. First, we go to God or your Guru with expectations. That first level of devotion, is expectational devotion. First level. Subsequently, what happens? All your expectations starts getting fulfilled. Not just one expectation or one wish or one want. One, two, three, four, or whatever. It becomes a pattern in your life. You're sticking to your guru, and all your wants are getting taken care of at that point of time. What comes within your heart is a sense of gratitude. So, the second level of devotion is devotion of gratitude. First, it is devotion of want. I want this, I want that, I want these things. Whatever you want has been fulfilled. So there is a sense of gratitude in your heart. You reach out to God and say that thank you. Devotion of gratitude. Then comes the third level of devotion. That is what is displayed here. Lord, I have been wanting so many things. First stage. Lord, you have bestowed upon me everything that I wanted. You have given me so many things. Thank you. I express my gratitude to you. Second phase of devotion. The third phase of devotion, where he says, a devotee, he or she says, Lord, I have had so many things which were in the list of my needs and wants. You have fulfilled everything. Thank you. I express my gratitude. Now I want to serve your cause. I want to serve your cause and be your instrument. Not serve his cause at your own free will and accord. You do what you want with your life. You have your free will at your own free will and accord. But when you are making an attempt to serve the cause of your Lord, instrumental devotion is the only devotion which is accepted and endorsed, whether in Bhagavad Gita or Shri Sai Satcharithra. I always say this small book, this little work, has the saransh, summary of every scripture in the world. You don't have to look any further. You just have to decipher and understand. Vedas, Upanishads, Quran Sharif or Bible, Holy Bible or Guru Granth Sahib or whether a Torah or whatever, whichever, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Hinduism or Islam or Christianity, all the teachings of all the major religions and all their scriptures, they are all here in this small book. We need to understand Baba's way of his life is a teaching in itself. If we understand our Guru, you've understood everything. If you understand,
Bhaiya, you are in mute.
Bhaiya, you've gone in mute.
if you understand your Baba, you have understood everything. That's all. So we will continue. And sorry, I think I stopped at levels of devotion, where the third level is of instrumental devotion, and the fourth level of devotion is a devotion of divine companionship. Dvaita. Being fully aware that you and your master are one, yet deciding to keep yourself as with the separation of being in companionship with your master and telling yourself that I love this difference. I love your company, Lord. Whether you are in your physical body or whether in your astral body or as a soul or whatever, that hardly matters. You are above and beyond those levels. You just are in company with your Guru, your God. In the whole of Satcharitra, if you carefully observe, this state of enjoying the divine companionship with Baba was always expressed or practiced by Sri Bhagat Malasapati. He was the one who always used to enjoy the company of the Divine Master quietly, silently. So that is the fourth level of devotion. And the fifth level of devotion, or the final level of devotion, is the devotion where you desire and do dissolve and lose your identity and become one with the Master, Advaita. So these are the five levels of devotions, and out of these five levels of devotion, the third one is the instrumental devotion. Right? So this instrumental devotion is what has been practiced here, even by Shama. So he says, that without your consent and blessing, nothing can be done successfully. When Sai Baba heard this request, he was moved and blessed me by giving me his Udi, the sacred ash, and placing his boon bestowing hand on my head, and said, let him make a collection of stories and experiences. Keep notes and memos. I will help him. We'll stop at this, just 2 lines. Just live the moment. I'm not saying for a moment that, just go read the stories and the teachings of Satcharitra as it is written, and then just do your parayan. What's the point? If you are having a dish or eating something which is extremely delicious, but your taste buds are dead, you're just stuffing your stomach. No point. सारांश को जब हम पढ़ते हैं और समझते हैं, when we understand the hidden meaning and jewel, you're relishing it just like the way you relish your food, which is the most delicious food. अगर आप हलवा खा रहे हो और आपके टेस्ट बड्स मर गए हैं, having the best pastry in the world, but your taste buds are dead, what's the point? Likewise, I always say that you read Satcharitra just once, not whole of Satcharitra once in a week. Doesn't make sense to me. Read it in your lifetime just once, doesn't matter. Understand. This attempt of deciphering Satcharitra and sitting in discussion with all of you and recording is the same experience. We are relishing Satcharitra. We are relishing the dish. That is important. Now just understand the cheerful face of Baba. Just witness it. Sitting in Dwarka Mai, your Guru has heard what Shama has said in the presence of Dhabolkar, not in the absence. Dhabolkar standing there with his head down, bowed down. Get into Dwarka Mai now. Witness this whole thing happening. Just witness. Run your imagination a little wide. It's nice. You are also in Dwarka Mai, standing there. Baba is sitting in his darbar. Shama is making his, offering this prayer and making this request. Shri Dhabolkar is standing with his head down, hands folded. What do you see? Everything here. The humbleness, humility, and absolute love, devotion. And the way Baba reacts, knowing that Shama is his perfect Shishya, that he has understood the Guru, with a cheerful face, he says, what he says. I mean, we'll get into what exactly he says, Baba says. But see the emotion of Baba, not that, he's a Satchidananda, he's a Sthita Prajna, so no emotions, but still that sense of contentment that, Shama is such a evolved soul and this Dhabolkar is such a humble soul, but everything doer is Baba. Baba is the one who has drawn Dhabolkar to Shirdi. It's not that Dhabolkar has come on his own free will and accord. But just for us to experience, cheerfully Baba says thus. Let him make collection of stories and experiences. Right? Keep notes and memos. I will help him. Gives a sense of assurance. He doesn't even debate or discuss with Shama. Two reasons. One, this Satcharitra was a necessity. And this discussion and deliberation we are having about Satcharitra is also a necessity. We are not doing it. We all are sitting and listening. One of his instruments, like many of you, are speaking. That's about it. And he's just doing the speech. It's his words. Speaking is done by him. Right? So, he says, let him collect the stories, experience, keep notes and memos, and I will help him. Now he continues, Baba continues. He is only an outward instrument. Stress on the word instrument. A literally instrumental devotion is said by Baba in his own words, which is the main teaching of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna says, you are not the doer, I am the doer, do not worry. Raise your weapons, hey Arjuna. This war is not yours, it is of Dharma. Dharma is what I am here for. Dharma Sanstapana is my responsibility. I come again and again to establish Dharma. You are just an instrument of me, the Supreme Master, to establish Dharma. The same thing. There is no difference. You are just an instrument, is what Lord Krishna, Purna Purushottama, tells Arjuna, is what Baba says to Shama. There's no difference. Absolutely no difference. He's only an outwardly instrument. I should write my biography myself and satisfy the wishes of my devotees. How different is this from Sri Bhagavad Gita or Gita Upadesh, where Lord Krishna says, I am the doer, you are just the instrument. The conflict begins when you feel that you are the doer. So do not worry, do not fear. Leave it to me. You are just an outwardly expression or outwardly instrument. I am the doer, I will write the autobiography, my own autobiography. And why do I do that? Krishna says, Dharma Sanstapana. Here he says, to satisfy the wishes of my devotees. How different are both? What is Dharma Sanstapana? To establish the righteousness in the society. Dharma is not religion. Dharma is righteousness. Dharma is in every religion. Dharmo rakshati rakshataha does not mean that you establish the dharma which you follow everywhere. No, no, no. Protect the righteousness which every religion teaches, so you are protected. Dharmo rakshati rakshataha. What exactly Baba said? What is to satisfy the desires or wishes of my devotees? When my devotees have desires, so many wishes, worldly, spiritual, the moment if we call it as desires and wishes, we always attribute it to the worldly things. Not necessarily. Here we have a lot of seekers, yogis and yoginis who are not seeking for worldly desires only. Most of the Shunya Kriya yogis and yoginis, the Shunya Kriya practitioners, they want to fulfill the worldly obligations. Whatever needs to be done, we need to do and satisfy our needs and make sure that we have enough resources in order to progress in our spiritual path. Everybody will agree. Whoever is a practitioner of Shunya Kriya will agree this. We are not here. We don't have greed. We don't have anything. We just have our responsibilities to discharge, which also requires some, whatever worldly needs that we want. But why do we need all those things? Not for us to splurge and, enjoy the worldly desires. We need that so that our worldly desires and needs and responsibilities are taken care of and we can progress spiritually. So when we are going to the fold of our Guru to satisfy our worldly needs, answer all our worldly needs, instead of taking a wrong route to do things, and when your Guru is fulfilling all your needs, so that you don't go take a wrong route, something which is immoral or illegal or something like that, what is he doing? He is upholding the righteousness within you. Dharma Sanstapana. How different is this? So here he says his compassion towards his devotees and disciples, not who are there in Shirdi then. This Satcharitra was not meant for people who were living in Shirdi then, and Baba's devotees and disciples till 1918. Because they all were experiencing, they were all so blessed that they were experiencing the presence of the Universal Master in Shirdi. What more did they want? What is the need of Satcharitra for them? This is for us. This is for us. His devotees and disciples to come. As long as the word exists, gospel and doctrine of Shirdi will exist. Sri Sai Maharaj's presence exists and continues till eternity, and a guiding light is this book called Sri Sai Satcharithra, the foundation of Shunya Kriya. The Saipanth is based on this book. There is nothing which we do which is outside of this book, and nothing that we do. We are just his instruments. We are just going with the flow. Otherwise, we are not here in the number games. Whatever the quality of yogis and yoginis who are there in Saipanth practicing Shunya Kriya are the finest, perfect ones. So the purity is there. Baba's grace is there in it. Baba's hukum is there in it. Command. Right? So his compassion towards his devotees and disciples to come in the future, not just now, not just then. Right? So he did that. Baba continues, he should get rid of his ego. Surrender it at my feet. He who acts like this in life, him I help the most. What of my life stories? I serve him in his house in all possible ways. When his ego is completely annihilated and there is left no trace of it, I myself shall enter into him and shall myself write my own life. Hearing my stories and teachings will create faith in devotees' hearts, and they will easily get self-realization and bliss. This one's 8 lines has the teachings of the universe. Everything. Guru Shishya Parampara, Guru's love for the devotees, his compassion, Arishad Vargas, ego, 2 types of ego, What is ego? Everything is explained. So we will take up one by one, right? He should get rid of his ego, surrender it at my feet. Two things. First, he says he should get rid of his ego. Ego has two interpretations. First interpretation of ego is the ahankar. First interpretation. Ahankar is a part of Arishad Vargas. Arishad Vargas, Kama, lust, Krodha, the anger, Lobha, the greed, Moha, the attachment, Mada, the ego, Matsarya, the jealousy. These are the 6 Vargas, out of which the 5th one is Mada, the ego. The most biggest enemy of your life is this ahankar. Biggest. So he is referring to, in first statement he says that he should first get rid of his ego. The dirt one you have to get rid of. Understand? Split here. The ahankar he has to get rid of, which is part of Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, Arishad Vargas. That is what Baba is referring to. Ahankar, let him get rid of it. You have to get rid of it. You have to contain your ego. How do you get rid of it? Reason with it. Your biggest enemy. People have pride in having ego. Oh, I am so egoistic. I have elephant size ego. I have a king size ego. You are a fool. You are an idiot. You are so stupid. And you are taking pride in being stupid. Look at yourself in the mirror. And let's say if I look like a donkey in the mirror and I'm taking pride that, I look like, not belittling the animal donkey, just as a metaphor. I look like an idiot in the mirror and I'm taking pride. Wow, I'm an idiot. That's how stupid ego is. The ahankar. Get rid of that. Egoistic people are the most gullible. I always say this. Egoistic people are the ones who can be manipulated so easily. I have given the example in chapter 1. You can go through that. So please get rid of that, and you should do it. Baba is very clear. He has to get rid of his ego. He's referring to Dabholkar, saying that in this, he's saying that Dabholkar has to get rid of his ego, which is like, he is the doer of the writing this Sai Satcharithra. He's referring to that, to Shama, but it is a message to us because this is here. After 100 years also in our hands. This story, this example is here. This is a message to us. We should get rid of our ego, ahankar. जब तक अहंकार नहीं जाएगा आपका स्पिरिचुअल प्रोग्रेशन नहीं जाएगा, नहीं होगा. Take it from me. Of the Arishad Vargas, first thing you need to get rid of is ego. Otherwise, there is no spiritual progression. Be rest assured. Our self-appointed gurus and masters, they themselves carry such high level of ego. I don't know how they are going to evolve the disciples and devotees of their so-called gurus. Anyway, that's a separate subject. Ego is the biggest enemy. So first you need to get rid of this ego. Second ego, what he says, he has to surrender his ego to me, surrender it to me. Not the ego what you have got rid of. First he says get rid of it. How can he contradict himself? Master is not immature, he is perfect. Every single statement that Baba makes or every teaches, every story is to perfection. First, get rid of ahankar. Second, the ego. Ego as per the Sankhya Shastra. As per the spiritual understanding, aham. That aham is aham brahmasmi. That is not a negative word of a ego. That is not a negative interpretation of ego. The entity, you as an entity, which is a combination of your body, your name, your soul, or your conscience, your karmas, your sanchita karma, your suchita karma, your kriyamana karma, your prarabdha karma, all these put together, there is something called as you as an entity. Surrender at my feet. Understand the difference between the ahankar and aham. Ahankar, he has to get rid of. Aham, surrender at my feet, is what Baba says. Such two words. Advaita, Dvaita, dono explained. Defeating Maya, secret given. Arishad Vargas are 6 weapons of Maya. उसमें से सबसे पावरफुल वेपन है अहंकार. दूसरा कामा, द लस्ट. First one is ahankar, the fifth one is the most powerful weapon of Maya, ego. Get rid of that. Second, you as aham brahmasmi. As a duality or as a non-duality, doesn't matter. Surrender at my feet. Just one statement of Baba. See the hidden meaning of Satcharitra. I am sure all of you are amazed with it. So Baba says he should get rid of his ego, surrender it at my feet. What is that he is going to surrender which he has gotten rid of? The ego, the ahankar is gotten rid of. Ego, the aham or the self or the entity is surrendered at his feet. He who acts like this in life, him I help the most. He is not addressing it to Dhabolkar. Shri Dhabolkar has already done it. Shri Dhabolkar has already gotten rid of his ahankar. He never has ahankar. He has already surrendered his aham at Baba's feet. Forget at Baba's feet. He surrenders at the feet of Shama. Or rather, he gives it in the feet, hands of Shama and he asks him to offer it to Baba. That is Dhabolkar. That is Sri Govind Raghunath Dhabolkar. We all should become like him. That is our path. He says, Mera to ahankar hai hi nahi hai. He means, if you see the metaphorically, Mera to ahankar to hai hi nahi hai. I am not, forget about ahankar. Me as aham, an entity, also I'll give it in your hand. Please go and leave it at my Lord Master's feet. See the humbleness and humility. They themselves may not be aware of these meanings or the evolution they have attained by just being his devotees and disciples. What they are feeling, how they are feeling, they themselves might not be aware of, but that's what it is. So he goes on, he who acts like this in life, him I help the most. So as I said, he is addressing us, not Sri Dhabolkar. He is not telling this to Dhabolkar. Dhabolkar is already there, he is already reached. We have to be like that. We have to get rid of our ahankar, submit our entity at the feet of our Guru. And I help him the most. What he says, Baba doesn't discriminate anybody. Every saint has a past. Today we are saints and yogis in Shunyakriya and Saipanth. Every saint has a past. I am referring to ourselves. But every sinner has a future. Every saint has a past, every sinner has a future. But he who acts like this, in this manner, I help him the most. But doesn't mean that he discards the others. because it becomes easy for him to handle people without ahankar and who have surrendered their ego at his feet. It becomes easy for Master. The universe, the entire divine ecosystem works better for people who have gotten rid of their ahankar and surrendered their aham at the feet of Baba. That's what he means by saying, him I help the most. What of my stories? Baba continues. I serve him in his house in all possible ways. When his ego is completely annihilated and there is left no trace of it, I myself shall enter into him and shall myself write my own life. I'll stop at this. I'll just want to give you a small example about this. The divine doesn't never ever, the Guru never lies. I have to speak about one story of Sri Panduranga's, Sri Sri Vitala's most intimate devotee. His name was Ghora. Ghora was a potter, कुंभार, मटका बनाता था. So, in one of the accidents, again, it's a divine Leela. Possibly in Puranas we have these kind of uh, stories where we feel or we are told or we are taught that God tests us. Anyway, let's take it as it is. So, in some accident, Ghora loses his hands. When he loses his hands, Vithala comes to his house as a servant and he serves him as a servant. He looks after him, he gives him a bath, he makes the pots, he sells it in the market, collects the money, comes and gives to his master, that is his devotee, and looks after the well being and security and safety of his family. That's exactly what Baba has said this here. I serve him in his house and I look after his well being. This is something which is historically recorded about one of the greatest devotees of Vithala, where Vithala comes as a servant and serves his devotee in his house. The same thing Baba has mentioned in this particular statement of Satcharitra. It was just an example, small one. I myself shall enter into him and shall myself write my own life. Now we all know that your Guru is indwelling. Your Guru is with you and within you. He is not outside of you. It is to satisfy our desires or one way of expression that we go to him, his temple, we go to Shirdi, we go to pilgrimages, the places of divine masters. Sthala Mahima hai. The divinity of the places are there. I am not disputing or denying that, but your Guru is with you and within you. This is a living Shirdi itself. It's a living Shirdi, moving and talking and mobile. Shirdi itself. Here dwells the Divine Master. He resides There's nothing outside of you. So, despite that, he says, I shall enter into him and shall myself write my own life. What it means, the illusion that you are the doer is one of the main layer of dust which has covered your intellect. That is cleansed. So I enter into him means that I will remove that illusion that he is the doer and I am an indwelling Guru and God. And shall myself write my own life. So it's not that he is coming from somewhere outside. He is with you and within you. Just that he will express himself within you. He'll display himself in you, is what he says. He means. Baba always spoke in very mysterious ways, mysterious and allegoric ways, right? So, this is what he means. Hearing my stories and teachings will create faith in devotees' hearts. What is the purpose? If this Satcharitra were not to be there, all the jewels of teachings would have gone. So, thanks to Baba, the Supreme Master, the doer, his kind love towards us, that he has made sure that this work is left behind for the world to eternity. As long as the world remains, this book remains and continues to guide the mankind. Thank the Master first and then also Shri Dhabodkar for being Master's chosen instrument and having served the cause. But what is the purpose of all these things is it will create faith in devotees' hearts. Faith moves mountains. Without faith, nothing works. Even motivational speakers say that this to you. Have faith in yourself. Have faith, faith, faith. You can do it. Faith is the one which will create the realities in your life. Faith in your Guru is the one which is going to evolve you in your spiritual path. Faith is the foundation. Faith is a necessity. That faith is going to be developed in your heart, established in your heart. That is the prerequisite for anything. If you have no faith in yourself, you cannot succeed in your career. Forget career, your academics, whether you're a sportsman or you're a musician or you're an actor, you're whatever you are. If you have no faith in yourself, there is no point. Whether it is your yogic path, whether you're spiritual aside, anything, fulfilling your worldly desires. If Dhirubhai Ambani did not have faith in himself, from faith comes the conviction that I can do it, I will do it. So he didn't have faith in himself and his plans. He wouldn't have built such a big empire and a lot of entrepreneurs in this world. If they didn't believe in it, if they did not faith in what they thought that they can deliver to the world, convert into a business opportunity, nothing would have happened. So faith, whether we believe in, we accept it or not, is a prerequisite for everybody. It's a necessity. So that is what is going to be imbibed in everybody's hearts. It will be created in people's heart. The primary need is faith. And they will easily get self-realization and bliss. Self-realization is what every spiritual seeker is aspiring for. First, you will have the faith that you can do it. You will speaking strictly about spiritual path, if you have faith in yourself that you shall attain the oneness with your Guru, you will. If you don't have that faith in you, you don't have the faith in your Guru, then it is a non starter. Your path is a non starter. Without faith, nothing works. So, first, faith will be developed in your heart when you read Satcharitra. Prerequisite. Then he will attain self realization and bliss. What is self realization? Realizing thyself. First question: who am I? Am I the body? Am I the name given to me? Am I the titles attached to me? Am I this body consciousness? Am I this display of intellect? I am all this also, but not only. So, if I am not the body only, who am I? That question of Advaita, what Shri Neo Advaita also people call it as, what Shri Ramana Maharshi said, only answer you need to find to evolve in spiritual arena is to find out who am I. That is who each one of us are. That's all is required, nothing else. So we are not the body only, we know that. Because once the body goes, you as a human consciousness or you as a conscience, where do you go? So who are you? Are you the body? No. Then it gives rises to another 5 sub-questions related to who am I? Since I am not the body only, because we cannot belittle the body. Body is an instrument without which you cannot attain the spiritual progression. So you have to respect the body, no doubt about it. But you're not the body only, you're the body also, just a part of you, as long as you live in it. So you're not the body, you live in the body. So then that raises another question: since I am not the body, where have I come from? I don't know who I am. So the next question which arises is, where have I come from? Since I am not the body, I have entered the body and I'm living, and someday the body goes, but this entity remains. So where have I come from? Where has this entity come from? The conscience is asking this question. The intellect is asking, reasoning this question. Where have I come from? I don't know who I am. I don't know where I have come from. Why am I here? The third question. We don't know. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I have come from. I don't know why I am here. At least, what am I supposed to do? The fourth question. Eat, grow, study, make money, live a lavish life, get married, have children, children settled, we grow old, someday kick the bucket, die. Is that why we are here? Is that what we are supposed to do? Really? I'm sure all of us agree that that is not what we are here for. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I have come from. I don't know why I am here. I don't know what I am supposed to do. But in any case, I have come from somewhere, so I belong to somebody or something. So the fifth question comes, whom do I belong to? Because you originated from somewhere, right? There is an origin. We belong to our parents. Biologically, union of our parents is why we are here, so we know that, we trace back. But spiritually, whom do we belong to? The fifth question. We don't know who we are, we don't know where we have come from, we don't know why we are here, we don't know what we are supposed to do, we don't know whom we belong to, but at least let us know, where am I going to go when I shed the body? The sixth question. Finding an answer to these six questions is your self-realization. Realization is not that someday some lightning will strike on your head and you will get one harakka moment and then you will say, wow, I am realized. I got enlightenment. Enlightenment, to throw light on these darkness within us, finding an answer to these questions is a process. It is not one day where somebody switches on the light and you get enlightenment, or one fine day you get the realization. No, sir, sorry. It's a process. If somebody is saying that he got self-realization one fine day sitting somewhere, no. Buddha went through this process for years together. After going through the process, he realizes under the Bodhi Vriksha. He didn't get it on day one. He went through the process. A seed becomes a sapling, sapling becomes a plant, plant becomes a tree. It's in nature. Theory of progression. Evolution is in nature. It doesn't happen overnight. If it happens overnight, one fine day you will go mad. You will have a psychiatric condition, trust me. So, self-realization you will gain. Finding an answer to those six questions. And bliss. What you attain when you have realized everything is a state of Sat Chit Ananda. Absolute state of bliss. We call our master Satchidananda Sadguru Sai Maharaj ki jai. Sat Chit Ananda. Absolute state of bliss because you have realized. See the process Lord has explained in this one statement. Very clear. He first gets faith, which is a prerequisite on the foundation. After that comes is the process of self-realization. Once the self-realization is done in a person, what is the state he is in? Is absolute state of Satchit Ananda, that word called bliss. Beautifully explained the process. Just by reading this Satcharitra, reading as in I do the Parayan, I pick up this book on a Thursday morning, finish it before Thursday morning, I have a list of wants, that gets fulfilled. Don't do that, don't waste your time. That's not for you. He has chosen you being a part of this small group. Understand, just read it once, doesn't matter. Unless and until you don't understand it, there's no point. And what you attain is Sat Chit Ananda, state of bliss. You are in a state where Sant Kabir Das has explained himself. I have quoted this doha several times. At the risk of repeating myself, I always say that Kabira khada bazaar mein, mange sab ki khair, na kahu se dosti, na kahu se bair. Kabira standing in the marketplace, which is the world. Each one of us are the same Kabira. मांगे सबकी खैर. He is wishing good for everybody. ना कहू से दोस्ती ना कहू से बैर है. There is no attachment or enmity. There is no love or enmity. He is only in a state of bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. That is the state you attain just by reading and understanding Shri Satcharitra, his life, his stories, and his teachings. That's all. No other sadhana. And finally, conclusively, in this whole paragraph, he says, let there be no insistence on establishing one's own view, no attempt to refute others' opinions, no discussion of pros and cons of any subject. The paragraph concludes with another hard-hitting message here, very clear. Let there be no insistence on establishing one's own view. That is, he is addressing it to Sri Dhabodkar. Dhabodkar is a compiler. He is an instrument. He is collecting all the stories and experiences and teachings of Sri Sainath Maharaj. He is not applying his own thoughts, his own opinions are not solicited. His own viewpoints, not opinions. His own viewpoints are not solicited. Baba is very clear. When we are doing a divine work, when we are instruments of God, there is no scope for having your own viewpoint. You are an instrument. Divine knows what is to be done when it has to be done. I will give an example of contemporary world today, what we Saipanthis are, how it started in a very small nutshell after the completing this passage. He says that no, he is not entertaining your own view. Because what you want to do on your own, you can have your own view. You are an author, you are a writer, you do what you want. You write a commentary on Satcharitra itself, no problem. But Satcharitra, you can't have your own view. He is very clear. He is a compiler. He draws all those stories, experiences, teachings, what he displayed for 50 plus years in Shirdi. Sri Dhabodkar is here to gather all those things, compile it, write it. That's it. His own opinions are not solicited. Viewpoint is not solicited. No attempt to refute others' opinions. Look at this. This is written as it is. It is verbatim, compilation of stories and everything. But having said this, Baba clearly says each one draws their own conclusion. Every time you read Satcharitra, there is a new meaning to you. I answer your questions when you read your Satcharitra. So each one may have different opinions, interpretations. Do not judge. Do not refute others' opinions. We are all together, but we all have our own journeys. The spiritual path and progression is never a pyramid that everything merges. It is a matrix when everyone merges. It's a matrix where each one of us have our own travel and become one with the divine parallelly. So he says very clearly, do not refute anybody's opinions. Your own views are not solicited. He is explaining the definition of instrumental devotion in here. How an instrument has to behave. So please understand that Guru is the supreme. Nobody and nothing above him. We are all his instruments. We are all his devotees and disciples. So each one will have our own opinion. Our viewpoint on Satcharitra is not solicited. Our opinions are Satcharitra is okay, is what Baba has said. No discussion of pros and cons of any subject. So there is no question of further. Baba says that pros and cons, what will happen, is this right, is this not right, is my interpretation is right. No deliberations. दिमाग को इतना काम मत दीजिए. No attempt should be made for the pros and cons of